There are some medical conditions all of us know. Colds, flu, fever, and the likes. Those things are so common that we can diagnose it on the fly, even without being a savant like Sean Murphy. But some are so rare that you probably don't know it existed. If you did know, congratulations! This is another reminder for you that they do exist. Auto-Brewery Syndrome, also known as ABS, is when the gut decides to turn into a homebrew operation, making ethanol out of regular food. Certain yeast and bacteria inside the body break down carbs into alcohol, meaning some unlucky people get tipsy just by eating a sandwich. Saccharomyces cerevisiae, also known as brewer's yeast, is usually the main culprit, though Candida species like C. albicans and C. glabrata sometimes join the party. Some bacteria, like Klebsiella pneumonia and Enterococcus faecium, also help turn a person's digestive tract into a poorly managed dive bar. These microorganisms ferment carbohydrates, producing ethanol, which gets absorbed into the bloodstream. The result? Someone who hasn't touched a drop of booze starts showing up to work looking like they exchanged Henny for water the night before. The human gut normally keeps its microbial population under control. The problem starts when these ethanol-producing microbes overgrow and completely wreck the balance. When someone eats carbs, their body should just digest them. But in ABS, those carbs get hijacked, turned into ethanol, and absorbed into the bloodstream. This ethanol then gets processed by the liver, but if too much is being produced, the liver can't keep up. So now this person is functionally drunk, even though the only thing they drank was a glass of water and maybe a slice of toast. Several things can trigger this whole mess. Antibiotics wipe out normal gut bacteria, leaving room for yeast and ethanol-producing bacteria to go nuts. A high-carb diet provides plenty of fuel for fermentation, making things worse. Conditions like Crohn's disease and irritable bowel syndrome can disrupt normal digestion, making it even easier for the microbes to take over. Diabetes can also increase susceptibility since high blood sugar levels give yeast an all-you-can-eat buffet. Meanwhile, immunosuppression weakens the body's ability to keep these freeloaders under control, which is just adding insult to injury. The symptoms are exactly what you'd expect when the body starts brewing alcohol without permission. Everything you get when you douse in alcohol. There's dizziness, slurred speech, and coordination issues. Some deal with nausea, bloating, and stomach pain because of course their gut is mad about all this too. Chronic fatigue and brain fog make life even more fun, and some people experience mood swings, which really just rounds out the whole miserable experience package. Symptoms get worse after eating carbs, which is why some unlucky people have to give up bread, pasta, and basically anything enjoyable to avoid accidental intoxication. Proteus syndrome. The thing with Proteus syndrome is that it's another mutation in the gene. This mutation makes your skin, bones, and other organs to grow at an abnormal rate. Even if you're lucky enough that the doctors find it in you, in your first 6 to 18 months, there's no cure for Proteus syndrome. This disease progresses fast and normally affects one side of the body more than the other. Let me just get my microscope, because we're about to get deeper. People who have Proteus experience irregular bone development, which results in different arm and leg length. The arms signify that someone's been baiting the master too much with the right hand, and the difference in leg length can only mean one thing: Taekwondo. Nah, just kidding. It means the bones in your legs developed in a not-so-equal way. Different legs mean moving issues. They also develop tumors filled with fatty tissues called lipomas. Above all those, deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot that forms in legs or arms, is also a thing. With abnormally bigger blood vessels, this clot could travel into the lungs, which could make you sick, which could make you even more sick. And congratulations, you have a deadly pulmonary embolism. Another hallmark of the syndrome is its effect on the face. Individuals with Proteus syndrome often exhibit a long face, a wide nasal bridge, and downward tilting eyes. And those things are only on their own. Add the unequal overgrowing of body parts, and you would be so disfigured. Here's an example what someone with Proteus syndrome looks like. His name is Joseph Merrick, and he's been called the Elephant Man. Doctors thought he had neurofibromatosis, but it was indeed Proteus, despite not all of his symptoms scream Proteus. This disease is so rare that it only appears in 1 out of a million people, and it can be easily misdiagnosed. Stendhal Syndrome. Imagine you're walking in a museum, then you saw me, a beautiful, dashing, ethereal human being that you refuse to believe existed because of my unreal aesthetics. So you pass out like this. That's what Stendhal Syndrome is. Also called Florence Syndrome because, well, Italy was its epicenter probably. It was named after a French writer, Stendhal, who got hit by it in 1817. He was walking around Florence, staring at some old paintings in an act called being a connoisseur. When his heart started racing, he felt dizzy, and reality threw a rave party inside his head. So yeah, the syndrome hits when people get exposed to extremely pretty art or places. Their heartbeat goes
boom, 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 boom. I want you in my room. Let's spend the night together from now until forever.
For some poor, unfortunate souls, it's not just dizziness. Some started hallucinating, probably seeing Mona Lisa winking at them or hearing whispers from statues. Not creepy at all. And because that's clearly not enough drama, anxiety can show up. Like these people aren't already having enough trouble. Now they're getting full-on panic attacks because of a canvas some dead dude splashed colors on a few hundred years ago. Sometimes, their brain even checks out a bit. Who am I? Where am I? What have I done to deserve to be in the same realm as this beautiful of an art? I think I'm gonna dramatically pass out now. The body doesn't hold back either. Chest pains, shortness of breath, fainting spells, basically a full menu of why am I even here experiences. And if you're unlucky enough, sweating and nausea will join the party, turning an innocent museum visit into a survival challenge. Weird thing is, these symptoms usually go away pretty quick once people leave the art-filled room. But the memory? Oh, it stays. Those who went through it will definitely keep talking about how a painting almost sucked the life out of them. The science behind it says it's basically your body reacting to extreme beauty by panicking. The brain gets overloaded by the intense visual input, releasing stress hormones like adrenaline, the same stuff your body would dish out if you were chased by a bear, except there's no bear. Or maybe if there was, it's this. Shout out to Ivan Shishkin's Morning in the Pine Forest from 1889. Did you hyperventilate when you saw that? Some might feel like running away from the place while others oddly feel magnetically pulled to it, like art turned into a toxic relationship. Researchers say this pull-push reaction highlights how closely linked our minds and bodies are when confronted with something overwhelmingly beautiful or powerful. Stendhal Syndrome doesn't pick favorites, but it's rare enough that most people won't get the chance to embarrass themselves in a gallery. Still, it's recognized in psychiatry, with doctors noting it's usually triggered by places known for historical and artistic importance. Foreign accent syndrome. This is when someone suddenly starts speaking in a different accent that they never actually learned. Wow, shocker. It's usually brain damage or psychological issues messing with speech patterns. This has been happening for over a century, with cases popping up after strokes, head injuries, or, in rare cases, mental disorders. The way someone sounds changes in ways that make people think they picked up an accent, even though they didn't. And no, it's not just someone doing a bad impression. This is a real, documented condition. The first reported case was in 1907, when a Frenchman got a stroke and suddenly sounded Alsatian. Since then, other cases have shown up all over the world. People wake up from accidents or surgeries suddenly sounding British, German, or whatever else. It's like their brain rebooted with a different voice pack. Most of the time, the person still speaks the same language, but their rhythm, pronunciation, and intonation change in ways that make them sound foreign. Neurologically, this usually happens when the left hemisphere of the brain, particularly areas responsible for speech, gets damaged. The most common cause is a stroke, but brain tumors, head trauma, and even multiple sclerosis can do the trick. If the damage messes up how the brain controls speech muscles, the person's normal speech pattern changes. Sometimes their speech slows down, they mispronounce certain sounds, or their words get an odd inflection. To people listening, it comes across as an accent, but the person isn't choosing to speak that way. In cases where there's no brain damage, FAS can be linked to psychological disorders. Some people develop it as part of a conversion disorder, where the brain basically glitches and creates physical symptoms from stress or trauma. Schizophrenia, mood disorders, and dissociative conditions have also been connected to FAS. These cases are even harder to study since brain scans don't show any physical damage. Medical professionals diagnose FAS by ruling out other speech disorders. Doctors check for neurological damage using brain scans like MRIs or CTs. If there's no visible damage, they turn to psychiatric evaluations to see if it's a psychological condition. Speech pathologists analyze how the person's speech has changed, looking at rhythm, pitch, and pronunciation. The whole process is basically a wild goose chase to figure out whether the problem is in the brain's structure or just how it's functioning. This is one of the rarest speech disorders out there, with fewer than 100 confirmed cases since it was first documented. There's a slight pattern of it appearing more in women, but nobody knows why. Some people recover over time, while others never lose the new accent.